Good morning. So thank you guys for being here today. One quick announcement for students, CRC students. If you did not have your ID card to scan in, please find Dr. Grimes so that we can get your attendance counted for today. Also wanted to clarify, classes, there will be no afternoon classes today. So your time in class today is starting from 9 to 12 today during this symposium. Yeah, thought I'd hear a cheer from that. Well, welcome to the third annual Business Symposium. This is our Faith and Business Success Symposium. This event is hosted by the Division of Business and Technology here at Crowley's Ridge College. And I wanted to give a brief overview of what the Division of Business and Technology offers here at CRC for those that don't know. So we offer bachelor degrees in business administration, marketing, and sports management. And we also offer an Associate of Science in Business that we were just approved for back in August. We also offer minors in Business Administration, Human Resources, Sports Management, Entrepreneurship, and Christian Leadership and Management. And then students who are pursuing a bachelor's degree in another division here have the opportunity to minor in various areas like psychology, history, biblical studies, coaching, education theory, sport performance, etc., etc. We want to recognize our special guests today. So we have a couple of high school students here from Crowley's Ridge Academy. I believe they're civics and economics students. And then we also have a group from Black River Tech. We established an articulation agreement with Black River Technical College this summer to provide seamless transfer policies for their 2-year business degree to our 4-year marketing and administration degree. So if you see them, please make them feel welcome. And so we're excited to provide our students, local high school students, and members of the community the opportunity to hear from our guest speakers today. And each speaker is successful in the field of business. We're eager to hear about how their faith has impacted their career today. So, before I introduce our first speaker, I wanted to highlight our networking opportunities today. You'll notice that we have some tables set up over here. And so just to kind of go through those. So first off, we have Lennox Insurance. This is Mr. Aaron Smith. We have a new partnership with Lennox to establish opportunities for paid internship opportunities for our business students. So please meet with him, visit with him if that's something that interests you. We also have Paragould Emerging Professionals. So they are associated with the Paragould Regional Chamber of Commerce. And they're able to discuss things like community involvement, developing your leadership skills, and building connections and resources. So you have questions about Paragould in general, they'd be great people to ask. We also have Success Credit Union, and they are here as part of the Financial Literacy Project, and so they are able to tell you about their services, specifically how to build your credit score and how a credit score would apply to you, especially as a college student kind of entering the real world after graduation. We also have Harding University Center for Leadership and Development. We have an agreement established with them. So our students are provided a discount if you're interested in entering into their Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership after graduation. They also offer that for graduate certificates in executive and workplace coaching, human resource management, and learning development. So if you have a chance, please visit with those during our networking opportunities throughout the morning this morning. Okay, so our first speaker this morning is Mr. Wade Freer. He is an health economics leader at Medtronic. This is the world's largest medical device company. He supports patient access to innovative cardiovascular therapies by providing economic analysis to hospital administrators and physicians across the country. His previous experience includes leadership positions at Lawrence Memorial Hospital, NEA Baptist Clinic, and St. Bernard's Medical Center. Wade grew up in Paragould and now lives in Jonesboro. He and his family are members of the Center Hill Church of Christ. He has a master's degree in health administration from UAMS and a bachelor's degree from Harding University. He's a graduate of Leadership Jonesboro. He's married to Sarah, and together they have 3 kids. So please welcome to the stage, Wade Freer.
All right, I appreciate that introduction. I feel like this mic is all up in my business. So I will move that, if that's okay, just a little bit right there. So Trika introduced me, and I appreciate she doing so. And what she didn't mention is I am her younger brother. And so I don't know if I am supposed to refer to you as Dr. Clark on campus, but I did want to start by just saying that it is great to be here with you. I'm excited to be able to speak with you today. And I did want to recognize Trika for the amount of work that she's put into the symposium to make it successful, and everyone here at CRC who has done likewise. And I have to tell you, I'm excited to talk about my job today because I do have family members right here, and I think most members of my family, they don't know what I actually do for a living. So I'm excited to be able to get to talk to you about it, and I'm hopeful by the end of our time today, you'll have a better understanding of what I do, as well as the healthcare industry. So Dr. Clark, I can refer to her as that, she mentioned that we have a theme for today, and that theme is where he leads me, I will follow. And that statement is full of faith, right? And I look at that really as a vision statement. So for you business majors, that could be learning organizational management. Most organizations, they have this vision statement, right? It's a declaration of what you want to accomplish in the future. And I can think of no greater accomplishment in your personal or your professional life than to follow where God leads you. So my name is Wade Freer, and I'm a regional economic manager at Medtronic. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Medtronic to give you a better picture of my path and what I do in my career. So in MedTech, as Dr. Clark mentioned, Medtronic is the #1 MedTech company in the world based off of revenue. So to kind of give you an idea of that MedTech space, that includes companies like Boston Scientific, Abbott, GE, Philips, and many more. It's a big space. But one thing we're proud of at Medtronic is the pacemaker. So does everyone here kind of know about a pacemaker? So a pacemaker is this implantable medical device that's put into the patient. It keeps their heart from beating too slowly. It's used by cardiologists to treat patients with heart failure and to improve their lives. So Medtronic's story starts actually in the late 1940s. It started with brothers-in-law, who were actually the entrepreneurs and the creators of Medtronic. And they had a garage in Minnesota. And one was an engineer, one was a salesman. And their business was repairing medical devices. And the story goes that a cardiac surgeon approached them one day with the idea of developing a pacemaker. And that's exactly what they did. In 1958, Medtronic created the world's first pacemaker. And in 1960, it was commercialized as new-to-world technology and put into the market. Healthcare is a huge industry. There are hospitals and there are clinics in every country. When we look at the U.S. specifically, healthcare takes up a large chunk of government spending with the U.S. It's estimated that about 1/5 of every dollar that the U.S. government spends, it spends on healthcare. But even though it's such a large industry, healthcare is still a very local service. So take the pacemaker as an example, as we will today. You know, for those of you who and all of you who will go to church Sunday morning, you know, I imagine that you could walk through those aisles and you could poll the members. And I would expect at least a handful of these members would have a pacemaker, right? It's a local service. It's providers and patients. They all live in the same community. And providers are providing services to those patients in the same community. That world-renowned technology is available to you, your family members, and your friends. So I work for Medtronic. Our company is located in Minnesota, and we operate in over 150 countries in the world. And Medtronic has three main businesses, so three operating units, if you will. And in those, we have medical surgical, so think, you know, general surgery, basic hospital equipment. We have neurosciences. So if you'll think of your head, neck, and spine and the therapies that physicians use to treat those. And then we have cardiovascular. So cardiovascular being your heart, being your blood vessels. And in each of these, we have large sales teams. So our business is selling medical devices to hospitals. And so we have large sales teams that make up each business. And in order for these sales teams to be successful, we have departments who support them. So just like in education, you know, CRC's business, if you will, and their objective is to educate students. But in order for CRC to be successful, they have support departments like HR, IT, marketing, and so forth. And we're the same way. So I work in the cardiovascular business in a department that's called Health Economics, Policy, and Reimbursement. And in our cardiovascular business, we manufacture and sell many therapies. I mentioned the pacemaker, that's the big one, but there are many more. But what we're doing right now, our focus right now, whenever I joined this company, and my focus is on a new procedure. It's another new-to-world technology that we're excited and that I think you'll hear about in years to come. Our CEO recently said, this might be the biggest thing that Medtronic ever does. And that's coming from a company that developed the pacemaker. So our focus right now is on a procedure called renal denervation. And you might not have heard of it. Like I said, you might in the future. This procedure is a procedure that is going to be used to control high blood pressure. So when you think of high blood pressure, we refer to it in the medical space as the silent killer. Because over time, high blood pressure, it can do what? It can damage your blood vessels, which can damage other major organs, and it can lead to major cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke. And so up until now, the treatment for high blood pressure has been medications and it's been lifestyle modifications. So if you have high blood pressure, you've been going to your physician and you've been prescribed all of these medications, and it could or it could not, depending on your body, be controlling your high blood pressure. So Medtronic started developing a treatment back in 2010, and it went through all of its clinical studies, and it obtained FDA approval in 2023. So when I say FDA approval, I'm referring to the Food Drug Administration, and now they have to approve new therapies and new drugs before they can come onto the market. And they approved renal denervation in 2023. And so I'm going to, without trying to bore you business majors with the science talk of renal denervation, but what this is it takes a catheter, and this catheter has electrodes at the end of it. And that catheter is inserted through the leg, it goes through the aorta, and then you have two kidneys, right? You have kidneys on either side, and that catheter, it'll go through the renal arteries. And what we know from science is that we have renal nerves right there, and they're lining those arterial walls. And this catheter has electrodes that emit radio frequency energy. And that radio frequency energy ablates those nerves. And so if you're familiar with the sympathetic nervous system, that sympathetic nervous system is signaling constantly between the brain and your organs. And when it does it from the brain and the kidneys, those renal nerves, when we ablate them, when the physicians ablate them, they do that because those nerves are overactive in patients with high blood pressure. So those overactive nerves are telling the brain to work harder, to increase blood pressure. So our procedure right now is that we denervate, we kill those nerves, and it disrupts the sympathetic nervous system, and it lowers blood pressure. We've seen great results since this procedure came to the market in 2023. And so you might ask, okay, what is business? What does my role have to do it here in economics, in policy, and reimbursement? And so with economics, right, I'm speaking to business majors, so you have an idea of what economics is, right? It's the idea in my space of using resources efficiently to improve health. And in adopting new technology, hospitals, they often are scarce on resources. If you get into the hospital space, a common language that you'll hear is no margin, no mission, right? If we can't make money, we can't keep our hospitals open, and we can't provide the treatment that our patients need. And so with my role, the best way that I can explain it is that I operate kind of at the intersection between finance and policy. And so how my role works is I'm a regional economic manager, and that is manager in name only. This is the first position I've had over my 10-year career that I'm not managing people. And it's going really well right now. I manage an area, so I work in a team of 6, and we cover the United States. And so there are approximately 6,000 hospitals in the United States, and my area is the southeastern United States. And I support 20 sales reps. And these sales reps, what they do is they go into the hospital, they develop relationships with physicians about starting new therapies and using new devices. And then if they run into barriers, whether they be financial from a physician or administrator, they bring me in, and I'm able to have a conversation with them. And I work remote, and a lot of my conversations do happen by phone or video, but I do have to travel if there's an important conversation. Kind of give you an idea about what that would look like is I actually leave tomorrow, and I drive up to Kentucky to meet with dinner with a physician, and then the following morning I'll meet at that hospital in Kentucky to speak to the administrator. And what I'm doing is talking through the finances and, like I said, trying to reduce those barriers. And so for me to explain the reimbursement part of my job, I want to kind of go back and without getting too much into the weeds, kind of describe a little bit about the payment system of healthcare. And so if you think about reimbursement, and you think, okay, what does that actually mean? Hospitals are often paid by insurance companies, and it's paid after they do a service. So they're doing a service, and then they submit a claim to the insurance company, and the insurance company would pay that. And so I talk about reimbursement. And the best way for me to explain reimbursement, I do this a lot whenever I talk to physicians, is I explain it like this. So reimbursement, if you take the analogy of a bar stool, and you have reimbursement at the top, and we have 3 legs to this bar stool, and each leg is independent of one another, but each are necessary for reimbursement. And those legs are coverage, coding, and payment. So when you think about coverage, you guys are familiar with some insurance companies. We have the big one, we have Medicare for elderly patients, we have Medicaid for low income, we have military, TRICARE, we have VA for veterans, and then in between we have a number of commercial insurance companies. The number is debated, but we have approximately 1,000 medical insurance companies in the United States. I'm not here to debate if that's good for healthcare or not. That's just me giving you information. And so part of my role is on the coverage piece. I learn about these policies. I learn about the language that they have in them, so I can advise hospitals. Because if you are familiar with healthcare, often you have prior authorizations. You have to meet medical necessity criteria in order to get a coverage. And so I do that piece. In coding is not what you would think of with IT coding, with learning languages. Coding is some smart person years ago identified a way to basically categorize and lump diagnoses and procedures into codes. So whenever you submit for a claim, to an insurance claim, you can just put that code in, and you don't have to write a bunch of words or type out a bunch of text. And so coding updates annually. So part of what I do also is learning those codes so I can speak to the physicians and hospitals about them. And then the last step is payment. So you obviously want to get paid for your service if you're a hospital, but in order to get paid, you have to have coverage and you have to have your coding in place. And then when we talk about payment, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about payment because there are a lot of payment structures out there. But at the end of the day, you want to get paid for your services. And there are a lot of different payment structures depending on if you get your service in a hospital or a clinic. So that's a little bit about what I do. And like I said, I work in a team of 6. And what I've found most interesting about healthcare and most enjoyable about my space is the work that I'm doing right now. I love doing it. But 10 years ago, whenever I started my career, I did not know that this position existed. I didn't know anything about Medtronic, and that's coming from someone who went to graduate school in health administration. There are all these, opportunities out there that I didn't know about. And so I'll talk about my story and how it led me to this role. But like I said, I work in a team of 6, and 2 others have similar backgrounds as me. So 3 out of the 6, we have similar backgrounds where we worked in a hospital. But also on my team, I have a chiropractor, a radiology technician, and someone whose background was military. And that's our team. And so I say that with healthcare is the great thing about it is you can all end up in the same role, but you can have different backgrounds, you can have different paths to get there. And I think that's an exciting thing about our space. So I'm going to try to walk quickly through my career and maybe point out some faith things that I've run into along the way and how God has guided me in my decisions. But I thought it would be appropriate to first start talking about my time in college. So as Dr. Clark mentioned, I went to Harding University, and I come from a sports background. So my dad, sitting up here, was oftentimes my coach. We played a lot of athletics, grew up here in Paragould at Crowley Church Academy, and went to Harding and was really interested in athletic performance. And there might be some of you who, with athletes in the room, who might be interested in the same thing. And so my major at Harding University was exercise science. That's what I went in. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but that was my interest. And so that was actually the major that I graduated with. And I decided along the way that I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I enrolled in the pre-PT program, and that was my path. That physical therapy, there's a physical therapy school at Harding. Thought that would be a great opportunity for me. And my junior year at Harding, I did a semester-long internship. So I did an internship at Cersei Physical Therapy, and I worked alongside a physical therapist. And I was there 3 days a week for this semester-long internship. And I remember going in, and I remember thinking, okay, this is going to be a dynamic environment. I'm going to work with sports-related injuries. This is going to be awesome. And it was really anything but that. It was not fun to me. And I say that if you have disclosure, if you have PT on your mind as a career that you want to do, I think that could be great. That could be the path for you. And my experience might not be your experience. But I went in, and a lot of what I did was working with the same patients over and over again. And they were oftentimes recovering from a hip replacement surgery or carpal tunnel surgery. And so I finished my internship, and my preceptor, the PT, wrote me a letter of recommendation to PT school. but I never applied. And I think the important thing and takeaway that you might take from that story is that I can be up here, and we're all going to be up here, and we're all going to talk about our careers and the opportunities that are there, but how important internships are. And I heard internships mentioned in the introductory. How important those things are, because your experiences are what's going to give you clarity for what you want to do in a career. So I was at my junior year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a career, and I thought, okay, I need to hit the reset. This is, what am I going to do with my life, basically? And maybe some of you are in the same way. So I thought back, okay, what are the classes that I've taken that I've really enjoyed? And 2 classes stuck out to me, and one of them was oral communications, and one of them was intro to accounting. And I think about those 2 classes because I think about the professors. The professors that I had were just all-time great professors, and I could tell that they cared about me, and we developed really good relationships. And so I thought about that, and I thought, okay, well, I spent so much time learning healthcare that I could see myself doing healthcare business. And so I get connected with a family friend. I call a family friend who at the time was the HR manager at St. Bernard's Medical Center. And I called him and I was just wondering, what are some entry-level business opportunities at St. Bernard's that you'd have for me? And there was nothing. Based off my education, based off my experience, it wasn't there. And so, again, frustrated. I thought, what am I going to do? And it was recommended to me that why don't you, pursue a graduate degree in health administration. So Sarah and I, my wife, Sarah, I know she was introduced. We moved to Little Rock following our time at Harding, and I enrolled in the UAMS Master's of Health Administration program, and she was an accountant, started at a big accounting firm in Little Rock. And we got there, and the program that I was enrolled in at the time, this is pre-COVID, was completely on-site, all on-site. And I understand post-COVID, the program has moved fully remote. So I think that's a great opportunity for students. But my classes were 4 nights a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I had classes from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And so our time didn't overlap very much. We got into this rut of, man, this is horrible. We're not seeing each other much during the day. We had a hard time connecting with the church. So at that moment, we knew we needed to move back home to Jonesboro and Pearwood, Arkansas, a place that we felt comfortable with. We needed to also hit the reset. So I remember, praying and thinking about those opportunities. What would it take for us to move back home? And the first opportunity came. And in hospital, in healthcare, we have what we call the Arkansas Hospital Association. So every fall in October, the Arkansas Hospital Association meets for an annual conference in Little Rock. And these are leaders from all hospitals in the entire state. And they meet there, and so I went there, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be my networking opportunity. I'm gonna search every hospital leader that's from Northeast Arkansas. And so I get there, and it's a large room that's set up kind of like this, and there are round tables. And I walk in, and I find a table of leaders that I recognize from the AMMC webpage. And so I go and I sit at their table, and I have a really good conversation with them. We exchange business cards, but the leaders there, they told me, hey, when you finish your graduate school, give us a call, and maybe something will come up then. So I was disappointed, but then I look around the room, and I see the main person that I wanted to reach out to. It was the COO at St. Bernard's. So when I say COO, that's a Chief Operating Officer. So it's kind of the second in command of the organization. I see him there, and we have a conversation, we exchange phone numbers. I'm telling you, I blew him up for the next several weeks, calling him, and I was in his email constantly. And a couple months later, he would offer me my first job at St. Bernard's. So New Year's Day, after living in Little Rock for 6 months, we packed up our bags and we moved to Jonesboro. And I started my career at St. Bernard's Medical Center as a manager of patient transportation. And I would continue my graduate school part-time, commuting 2 nights a week to Little Rock and back. And at St. Bernard's, I want to focus on something that I might have left out about healthcare, is that healthcare is extremely faith-based. And you can see that as you look around hospitals and you look at the names of them. And, St. Bernard's, they have faith names. And oftentimes they have great inception stories. And St. Bernard's is the same way. St. Bernard's was founded in 1900 because there was a malaria outbreak. These group of nuns were here actually to be educators. They were teachers. And they filled a gap. They recognized the need for a hospital. So they partnered with a local physician, and they started this hospital to provide care for the community. And they created this mission statement. It's still the mission statement at St. Bernard's to this day. And I'll always remember it, and I'll tell you why after I tell you the mission statement. It's to provide Christ-like healing to the community through education, treatment, and health services. And I always remember that because my typical day while I was working at St. Bernard started with morning huddles. And oftentimes the leaders who would start these huddles would have all of us at the same time recite our mission statement, and then they would lead us in prayer. And I think about that, how comforting it was to work in an organization that prioritized prayer. And I've seen that across the organizations that I've worked at in healthcare. And I hope it never goes away. So I was a manager of patient transportation at St. Bernard's Medical Center. So basically, I managed a group of about 15 transporters. They got patients from their hospital rooms to surgery, to a heart procedure, or to radiology, and then got them back. So we were all over the hospital, and what a great opportunity that was. And a lot of the transporters that work at hospital are college age, and so it's a great opportunity to get into the hospital and learn the inner workings of the hospital. What you'll learn about if you do step into the hospital space is there's a lot of focus on what we call length of stay. So what we know about healthcare is that the longer you stay, the longer a patient stays in the hospital, the more likely they acquire an infection. And so we want to get them out as quickly as possible. And another thing that we know about healthcare is that I mentioned the payments and the financing of healthcare. Most times with hospital payments, you're paid a lump sum for an episode of care. So if I bring a patient in and for pneumonia or whatever it is, most times I know what I'm going to get paid for. I know what I'm going to get paid for that service. So it's my job to reduce the costs associated with that visit. So when you think of length of stay, you try to reduce unnecessary delays. And so that was my job that I started with at St. Bernard's, managing patient transportation. And I did that until I graduated my program at UMass, and I got a promotion. I got a promotion at St. Bernard's. And I moved into our medical residency program as an administrator at that program. And so I stop right here to talk a little bit about medical residency briefly, is that if you picture Grey's Anatomy, right? I don't know if Grey's Anatomy is kind of with your time. I know Sarah and I really enjoyed watching that during our college years. Grey's Anatomy is not all true, obviously. But there are certain concepts of it that are, right? With medical residency, as a physician who finishes medical school, they have to go through medical residency, learn from attendings before they can be, signed off and practice medicine. So most hospitals now have these programs, and St. Bernard's did as well. It was new at the time. So they had these residency programs where we are growing young residents, and really saw kind of how my faith impacted the career is that a lot of these medical residents come from all over, right? They're not, born and raised in the Bible Belt. We had coming from California, from New York. It gave me the opportunity to really establish culture in that role and to really impact, future physicians that I thought could, lead to better care when you think about bedside manner and different things like that. And I was in this role managing the residency program, compliance of it. And I looked at my career at that time, I thought, okay, medical education, this is something that I can do, it's something that I really enjoy, I can see myself doing this for a long time. And then COVID hit. So, I'm sure each of you out there, you have your own COVID story of how COVID has impacted your lives, maybe your high school, college careers, whatever it is. And COVID impacted the healthcare industry just like it did every industry. So healthcare, hospitals prioritize taking care of the critically ill, which they should, and it was a good response to COVID. But in doing so, we stopped a lot of these elective procedures. So when you think of diagnostic procedures, like some of these cath procedures or colonoscopies, different things like that, those were kind of put on the back burner. And those in hospitals are often the revenue generating procedures. So when we cut a lot of that revenue, the next thing that came was cutting cost. And so what St. Bernard's did was they identified non-essential workers and they started to lay them off. So I remember the day, and whenever I was asked to speak today, this was the story that I thought of the impact to my life and how I had my plans and they were just changed like that. It was April 16th, 2020. It was a Thursday, and I'm sitting in my office, and my boss and my boss's boss, they come in and they sit right across from me at the desk. And I looked at them, and you just know, right, when your boss and your boss's boss come into your office that this is not going to be a great conversation. And I look and I just see, what I thought was disappointment, sadness, and that I would learn a few minutes later it was sympathy. And I was told that they were doing a reorganization, and they were combining roles, and that my role would be eliminated. And I was trying to take that all in, and then the VP, my boss's boss that was in the room, looked at me and said, "But we do have an opportunity for you that we haven't given to others." And it was because I had developed a really good relationship. I put my all in to working at St. Bernard's up until that point. It had been 5 years. And I talked about the mission and how much I enjoyed the mission. I've had great interactions with patients. I've been able to pray over patients in that role. As you transport them to procedures, that's often when they're at their most scared. So you have these conversations with them that you really treasure. And I heard this once, and I wrote it down when I heard it, and I enjoyed this saying. But it says that you work hard for a paycheck, you work harder for a boss you like, and you work hardest for a cause. So I found my cause in healthcare really helping these patients, and had worked hard throughout my career. And then I was being told that I'm a non-essential employee. And my VP said to me, "But we do have an opportunity at a small hospital in Walnut Ridge." And that's at Lawrence Memorial Hospital. And so Lawrence Memorial Hospital, if you don't know, is actually affiliated with St. Bernard's. And so they've had a business agreement since the 1970s. They're not owned, they have separate ownership, but there is an affiliation. St. Bernard's manages their finances and other things. And so they said, if you want to go to Lawrence Memorial, there could be an opportunity there for you. Tomorrow's Friday, you can go meet with them. If everything works out good, you can start there on Monday. And so I drive there on Friday, never been at that hospital before, small hospital in a small little town. And I didn't know anyone. And they told me what the job was. They told me that they needed somebody to run their supply chain, that their supply chain had been paper-based, and it really looked like it was operating since the 1970s. Everything was paper, and when you ordered something, you had to pick up the phone and you had to call, the supplier. Nothing was electronic. So they were looking for a young guy to come and stabilize that. The only other person that they had that was running their supply chain was one person, and he was a 65-year-old individual. And at Lawrence Memorial, if you're not familiar with the hospital has 25 beds, and then it has about a 100-bed nursing home. So it was managing the supply chain for that. And so, I thought about it, well, what else am I going to do? I don't have a job now, so of course I'm going to take this. And I took it, and I started there on Monday. And I remember being so upset. This was now about a 45-minute commute from my house. I remember having conversations with my dad. I literally just built a house in Jonesboro. Now I'm being told that I have to go work at a hospital at Walnut Ridge. It's a small hospital. I come from UAMS in St. Bernard's. Like, this is terrible. And I say that and say that of my 10-year career, that this was the best, among the best, and among the times that I enjoyed. That God, I believe, led me to this season. It humbled me. I worked for that small hospital, and if you don't know, my parents are both from the Hoxie area. They both went to Hoxie High School. So I got to meet people who knew them as kids, and got to develop that relationship. It was at this time that I developed a friendship with my elder coworker. He actually gave me a set of golf clubs that I use to this day when I play golf. And it was at this time that my wife and my kids would come and visit me in Walnut Ridge, and we would eat lunch, and then they would come and they would get to know my coworkers. And it was at this time that I developed really good friendships. I developed a friendship with my preacher. My preacher would come and we would eat lunch many times at Pizza Den in Hoxie. I had this time, really for the first time in my career, working this low-stress job, and it was a season that I enjoyed. I got to know Coach Ty Clothier, who some of you might know in this room, used to work here at CRC. And he became the CRA boys basketball coach. I got to know him, develop a friendship with him, and he actually let me ride along on his games and keep his stats on his bench, and I loved that. And it was at this time that oftentimes when we would commute to these basketball games, I would ride with my dad. My dad would come pick me up if a game was over close to Walnut Ridge, and we would have that time to bond. And I really enjoyed the moments that came with that. And then I mentioned that my parents are from this area, from Hoxie and Walnut Ridge. My grandpa, my dad's dad, lived in Walnut Ridge and didn't have a lot of good conversations with him over time. But there was one time working in this role that I did go and I met with him and had lunch with him and engaged in conversations and got to ask him questions that I wanted to ask a long time ago. We did. And of course, he passed away not long after. But I look at that time and thought, man, this I thought was so horrible at the time, but could tell that God led me there and really enjoyed those seasons. And I thought I was going to be there for a long time. I ended up only being at Lawrence Memorial for 2 years. But like I said, I enjoyed the role. I thought we were going to be there a long time, so much that I had tried to come back to St. Bernard's. There wasn't opportunities there. I had poked some connections at NEA Baptist. There weren't there at the time either. And so Sarah and I actually, had plans to move to Walnut Ridge. We were thinking, okay, maybe we'll just pack up and we'll just move to Walnut Ridge, and this will be my job, and that's okay because I love it. And it was a spring Sunday, and we actually had a realtor come look at our house, and we were pretty sold that we were going to do it. And then the following Monday, no lie, the day after that Monday, I get an email from a leader, the executive director at NEA Baptist Clinic, asking if I was still interested in NEA, that they had an opportunity that I might want to consider. Didn't apply at that time for the role. So I met with the leader, and NEA is about a 4-minute drive from my house, and enjoyed my conversation with them. And they would offer, and I would start my career at NEA Baptist. In NEA Baptist Clinic, I was a director of clinical operations on the practice side, so the clinic side. And I went from leading a team of 1, 2, if you include me, to being a director that had oversight of 4 managers, and I had about 150 people reporting up through me. Managed specialties like cardiology, ENT, neurosurgery, internal medicine, pediatrics, a number of different specialties. And so what you do in that role is you're really there to set culture, to make sure that your practice is operating correctly. And there are a lot of opportunities, and what I mentioned with reimbursement, I learned in this role. You know what, I think the quote from the Walmart CEO that I've always really enjoyed is, you don't get your next job until you do this job really well. So I worked at NEA Baptist, and I learned a lot about reimbursement and different things like that. And I led these people, a big group of people. And, I'm proud of the time that I got to do that. I felt like my faith played a role in leading these people. One, without getting too preachy, because I know I'll try to wrap up my time, one person in the Bible that I really, really enjoy reading about is the Apostle Paul. Probably all my favorite stories in the Bible come from the Apostle Paul, but and it might be because apparently he was quite the athlete. He talks about his running the races. He talks about boxing a little bit in his stories. And one thing he says in 1 Corinthians, he says that the Lord commands those that profess the gospel to get their living by the gospel. And so in my time at NEA Baptist, one thing that I tried to do was to just be a good leader, to really set the culture, and that when you go to these clinics, you can get treatment from employees who care about you. So I was proud of the time that I got to do that. I joked about not having to manage people in my role now. I think what you'll see, if you choose to get into management, there are certain of you who will do great in management, and there might be some of you who will not. And I learned along the way that I struggled a little bit in management, because you carry the burdens of those who report to you. So any leader in this room, I know we have CRC leaders, we have leaders up here, any leader who is leading people, what I've learned is not to complain about them, because they really do have a hard job. So if you're a leader in an administration at a hospital or a clinic, typically what you get is you get the complaints from employees. You also get patient complaints. I don't know how many times I would walk into my office and my phone would have all these voicemails from patients that would be complaining, and I knew by the end of the day I had to pick up that phone, I had to call them and ask what was wrong and talk through it with them. And those are the things that you don't think of when you think of hospital administration. And they're things that are burdensome, but there are also times where you pick up that phone and you can have a good conversation with the patient and you can resolve what they have on their mind. And that's what I really appreciate. But I'll close with this. At my time at NEA Baptist, and kind of loop it around to how I'm working in my current role. Another thing that you do if you work in administration at a hospital or a clinic is you play a role in adopting new technology. You're supporting physicians. When a physician has a therapy that they're excited about, you play a role in helping them get that through to the finish line for patients that really need that treatment. So it was 2024, and a physician approached us with the idea of renal denervation, of a procedure to control high blood pressure. And so I was proud to be on the team at NEA Baptist along with Dr. D.V. Patel. And we did the first renal denervation procedure in the state of Arkansas at NEA Baptist. And through that, through the relationships I would then start to develop with the Medtronic team, I was excited and knew that my path was more of a subject matter expert, what I kind of found in my time at Lawrence Memorial, focusing on something and doing it really well in a small team. And so I was excited to make that jump to Medtronic after working at NEA Baptist for about 3 years in a leadership role. So I conclude my time today of just, hopefully, you've learned a little bit about the healthcare industry and that there are all these different roles out there for what you could do. And your path, it really doesn't matter on your path, because people could be working the same job that you want and have a completely different path to you. Right, your path is your own. But there are great opportunities, maybe opportunities that you don't even know about, that I believe God could lead you to. And so it's an excitement filled, and I'm thankful for your time. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take about a 10-minute networking break, bathroom break, if you want to go and refill on snacks or if you want to get another drink from Pete's. We'll take this time to tell you, though, CRC students, you're not permitted to leave, so you're required to be here all day long, so don't leave. But please access our networking tables, grab you some more snacks. We'll see you back at 10. our symposium. So our second speaker today is Miss Shannon Hyde Prince. She is the co-owner of Hyde's Termite and Pest Control, along with her father and her sister. Hyde's is a family business with 4 offices that cover Arkansas and Missouri. Shannon's family has always been involved in the community, and she's a member at the Seventh and Molar Church of Christ. She is a past president of the Arkansas Pest Management Association. She currently serves there as a board member. She's a graduate of Arkansas State University, where she obtained a bachelor's degree in computer information systems. She is married to Chad Prince. They have 3 grandchildren and a large community of animals that take up their spare time. So please help me welcome to the stage Miss Shannon Prince. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to cause a commotion because I can't talk without my hands, so I need my hands free. I'm going to talk about today the choices we make in our business. When we're in the business world, the world tells us that we need to be aggressive and that we need to be assertive. And if we need to step on others to get ahead, then that's what we do. Think of it, the mottos of some of the big companies we know. Nike is just do it. Visa is everywhere you want to be. And L'Oreal is because you are worth it. And Burger King is have it your way. These all focus on self. And we are taught in the business that do whatever you have to do to succeed. It's just business, right? I'm sorry that you lost out on that. It's okay. It's just business. Don't take it personal. We are taught that Christianity has no place in the business world. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our family business and how it's shaping me into becoming a better person and a better business leader. Like she said, we work in a 3rd generation business, and my grandfather started in our industry in the 60s and went out on his own in the early 70s. He was an exceptional man, and he started with nothing and built a business in multi-states with a 6th grade education. He was also one of the co-founders of the Compassion Outreach at Seventh and Molar Church of Christ. So this was a charity for people in need. They would, if you needed money for rent or medicine or groceries, there was no place to go to get that at the time, so they came to our office. So I watched my grandfather interact with people coming in the office and they needed help. So he grew up very humbly. And when these men would come in, sometimes it would be men, they would feel degraded because they had to ask for help. And I remember his interaction with them as never making them feel less than. And men would want to work for that. If he gave them money for medicine for their children, they would want to work. So my grandparents' house it had central heat and air, and they had an electric fireplace. But at one time, that fireplace had been, it used wood. So they had an old stack of wood in the backyard. And when these men would come in to make them give them dignity to work for what they were getting, he would tell them he had a job for them. Will you move the wood from my shed over to the other side of my house? And my grandmother would be watching out the window, and she would see these people randomly, different, sometimes twice a month, moving the wood from one side of the house to the other, back and forth, back and forth. So he kept that wood pile just to give men dignity. So he was my person, and I went with him everywhere. I even crawled houses with this man. I don't do that today, but as a child I was fearless, and I would crawl into those houses with my grandfather. And then we would come out from underneath the house, and he would say, I need to go deliver a food basket. So So he would, especially around Christmas time, they would take extra things to people in need. And I would go with him, and we would go and deliver, like at Christmas time, there would always be a gift for a child that didn't have anything. So one time we're delivering, and we get to the door, and I don't see a gift. And I'm like, Grandpa, you forgot the gift. And he said, no, I've got it, it's right here. And he pointed to a 2-liter Dr. Pepper. I said, that's not a present, that's a soda. And he's like, well, that's what this little boy asked for. And I said, why would anybody ask for a soda for Christmas? All you have to do is go to the store and get them. And he said, well, a little boy that doesn't ever get soda. So at that time in my life, I'm only 5 years old, and I'm starting to learn everybody's not like us. And we weren't rich. We had, we were just okay, but we never wanted for anything. So I didn't understand the concept of not having something. So we were eating in a restaurant here in town, Taco Rio, as a child, and my dad was teaching me how to spell my name. So I know I was only like 4 or 5. And this little boy, his parents drop him off at the door of the taco place, and he's walking in to get a to-go order. And his boots, he has on cowboy boots, and they're like 5 sizes too big. And when he walks, the toes of his boots were flopping up. And I thought, it was funny, so I'm laughing. And my dad says, what are you laughing at? And I'm like, did you see his boots? And so my dad is recognizing poverty. And he says, well, that little boy is probably wearing those cowboy boots because his are too little. His parents don't have enough money to buy him a larger size, so he's wearing his older brother's. He recognized poor when I did not. In fact, my dad went to 11 different schools from the time he was in first grade to a senior, from here to California. So they were never settled. He lived out, sometimes it would be very rural in California, out in the foothills. And his parents, not living the best lifestyles, would sometimes leave him and his siblings for like several days. And he can remember cutting mold off of cheese and bologna just to be able to feed his sisters. And this impacted him a lot. So when he married my mother and he comes into the family business and they start going into homes and servicing these homes, doing pest control. And he still talks about this today. It was so impactful to him. He said, I did not know that you could have a cook stove that didn't require wood. I didn't know you could have electricity in all the rooms. He said, they had things in their house, I don't even know where they were. But the point of these stories is that, my grandfather and my dad, they knew what it was like to be poor. And they never looked down on people because of their income. Even when they reached a point that they had enough, they still taught us, you do not look down on someone because of their income. A rule of thumb in our business was always, you will respect the customer that lives in an apartment the same as you will respect the person that lives in a 3-story home. And sadly to say, my story starts with me not being that humble person. After, I went to college and I worked in a field where we designed computer software for specialized industries. Back in that day, we didn't have Google, we didn't have QuickBooks already, so we had to go into a business and sit with them for days and weeks and design their software. And that was a very easy communication. That was very easy. Well, my mom passed away unexpectedly, and I came back into the family business. I wanted to be with my family. My dad needed me, my grandparents needed me, my sister needed me. But what that did was that threw me in from I had 3 customers to now I had thousands. And customers are people, and people are mean and cranky. And, they're farmers, they're single mothers, they are all aspects of life. And there were people from my school that I went to school with in church. So I got to the point that I didn't even want to answer the phone. When I went to Walmart, I don't want you to talk to me, I'm just going in, I don't like people, I've had enough of them all day long. And sometimes, customers from church would call. And I would say, and they wouldn't know it was me. And they would be so hateful. And I would say, and I'm thinking in my head, I know you. I'll go to church, I'll sit behind you and look at your head. And this is how you're acting? But again, business and church, they're two different things, right? We act different outside of church. So again, I'm getting a taste of humanity that I'm not really comfortable with, and I'm not really a people person, but yet I come from a family that's very people-y. And I'm going to tell you some stories about how people-y my family was. So my grandfather, to start his business, he wanted to be in the community. So there was a restaurant in town that had a 12-seat table in the back, and it was kind of known that it was Telfer and Aladdin's table. That was my grandparents' name. And he wanted to be seen in the public, and he wanted people to see him, and he wanted to know the community and care for others, and he loved people. So every night of the week, they ate out, and people would sit at this table. And I was with them a lot. And in the 70s, we didn't have an iPhone, and we didn't have an iPad. So I was occupied with a placemat and a crayon and a stressed out Barbie for 2.5 hours. And so when it's time to leave, I would lean over to my grandmother and I would say, hey, when we leave, can you just walk straight to the door and not talk to all the other people in the room? And she would say, honey, why do you want to be that way? And I would say, because I'm not nice like you. Regardless, we would get up, she would talk, she would talk, she would talk, she would talk to all these people. And we would just about be ready to leave. The conversations wind down, I know it's time. And my grandparents were fishermen. They spent their winters in Florida, and they had a lake house in Norfolk, and they crappie fished all the time. We're getting ready to leave, I know it's coming, and there would be a man at the table that would say, hey, Allie, how was the fishing at Lake Norfolk last week? And I would say, oh, he said the F word. We're going to be here in another 15 minutes. And we would. So, she was a socialite. She loved people. And we would go to church early so that she would go talk to everybody. And I would even say, hey, we don't have to get there so early. She goes, I need to talk to people. And she said, people need to be seen. They want to be heard. And there are people there that are forgotten. And she's talking about those people that you see sitting on the pew. They're looking at their bulletin, their heads down. No one's talking to them. They're just existing. And I could watch her walk across the room, and she would touch them on the shoulder, and they would look up and smile like, oh, someone's talking to me. And I saw what she was talking about. And she would say, I have to go speak to the elder. And I would say, you're 79, you are the elderly. And she would say, well, until I can no longer walk, I will do this. So the point of that was, my entire family was nice. And I'm losing out here. I'm not getting the vibes that, they're wanting to pass on. And I look back, I was caught up in myself. I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at people. I'm mad at all the things going wrong. My mother's passed away, and it's not fair, and people are cranky, and, customers are hateful. So I can remember my dad always saying, when a customer is rude, you don't know what they're going through. And I would say, well, they're probably going through it because they're so hateful. And God heard that. And so knowing how God works and God leading us where we need to go, He led me to more hateful customers. So one day we scheduled a man's house that he wanted to be serviced. He picked the time and he picked the date. He said, tomorrow at 2. That's great, we'll be there. That afternoon, our technician comes in and he said, I did not get Mr. Smith's house. I'm like, okay, what's the problem? Well, I opened the door, I knocked on the door, he opened it, he cussed me out, slammed the door in my face, and I felt that I needed to leave. And I'm like, he scheduled that time. And what is his problem? So all night I think about it. And the next morning I'm ready for him. I'm going to call him, he's going to hear it. I've had it. Well, he calls me first. And he proceeds to apologize. And he said, I'm so sorry. My doctor had just called, and he told me I do, in fact, have cancer. What do you do with that? I had this whole script of what I was going to say to him. But then I started paying attention to my customers. And these men would come in, cranky men. And they weren't mad at us. They were just, mad at the world. And so one day, one of them was being a little hateful, and I thought, I'm just going to be hateful back. And he actually smiled, and he said, well, you have a little fire in you, don't you? And I thought, you know what, I guess I do. And I thought, maybe this is how I need to interact with these people. So I started doing that with these men, and I was realizing, they're physically coming into our office to pay their bill. We send the bill with a return envelope. If you don't like people and you're so cranky, why are you coming in? And I'm like, they're only human interaction. I'm providing a service for these people. They're coming to see us because they don't have anyone else to talk to. So it got to where I made friends with more and more of these men. And they would come in and I could hear them in the front office and they would say, hey, is Jerry's daughter here? Or is that dark-headed girl here? And they would come get me and they would say, hey, Mr. So-and-so's here and they're asking for you. And I might be so busy, but when God's knocking, what do? So I set a chair in front of my desk, and these men would come in and that was their chair. And they would have on coveralls and they would lean back and they would stick their hands in between the little things right here, and they would talk to me about politics, about their farms, nothing I cared about, but they had someone to talk to. And it meant so much to me that, and I'm thinking, I'm becoming outdated. But then, we started noticing, I was going through our accounts, trying to straighten some things up, some business strategies. And I'm looking through and I'm thinking, we have customers, we're going to their house every month to spray for bugs. For 40 years, you don't have bugs. Your house is probably glowing. You don't have bugs. So I would call and I would say, hey, why don't we move you to a quarterly program? It'll save you a little bit of money. No, I want to stay monthly. Are you sure? Surely you don't have a problem with that. Come on, no, I want to be monthly. So I started realizing we were the only people they see. And our technicians, in the morning sometimes they'll say things like, ooh, I'm going to Miss Jones' house today. And I'll say, well, what's the big deal? She's making me meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And, we have so many elderly customers that will cook for our guys because that's all they know. How sad is that? So we a lot of our services, we're just providing companionship with lonely people. Kind of like the commonality. So I have done this probably 5 or 6 times. I will be the person that has to call a family member in another state because we know their family so well. We're there monthly. Your mother, called us 38 times yesterday to ask the same thing. You might want to check on him. Or we found your dad in the backyard chasing cats. He wasn't fully dressed. You might want to check on him. Sometimes we are the ones that have to tell family in other states that their family is not okay. So, there's a side of humanity out there in business that it's not just business. It becomes family. It becomes your duty. It becomes something that God would have you to do. And my dad has always said, preach by, he's like, teach by example. How you treat your customers is how your employees are going to treat your customers. So if they see you treat your customers well, they will treat your customers well. All you have to do is be nice. And I feel like we've done that because we have employees that go on Saturdays, check on people that they've built a relationship with. And so I travel to work on a road in town every day that has a 4-way stop. I go through it several times a day, and sometimes I think I'm the only one that knows the rules of 4-way stop. And there's always that one person that gets there, mad at the world. He's the last one there, but he's going to take all of our turns because he's entitled and he's mad and he's just going. And then there's the lady over here, it's her turn, but she's not sure. Is it my turn? Is it my, she's back in, and you're like, just get out of the way before you kill us all. And then there's the next lady over here that's just staring in his face, and we're honking the horn. It's your turn, go! Every day. And this four-way stop will set the tone for my day if I let it. And I'm mad at that guy that took my spot. You know, he wasn't first, I was first. And that lady, you know, I'm thinking, how do you learn to drive? Like, you know, how are you functioning out here in the world if you can't even handle a four-way stop? And the lady that's just sitting on her phone, you know, you want to think, get it together. Come on, we got places to go. And I came to realize that if I let them all take my turn, I'm going to give up 15 seconds of my day to let them go first. And I had kind of figured out that that guy that's so angry, he doesn't know Jesus. He doesn't know, all he knows is he's angry and he's mad and he's going to take it out on humanity. The woman that can't make up her mind, she might know Jesus, but she's living in the world. She's got so many things on her mind that Jesus has put on the back burner. And then that lady just staring in his face, you know, is she going through a divorce? Does she have cancer? Has she lost a child? Has she lost her job? And they don't need me to tell them how to drive. You know, that's not my place. So, I'm determined in my older years, I have a choice at that intersection. I have the power to change my attitude and give them grace. I have the power to control my day, not just in business, but in my day-to-day life. Because remember, we're supposed to act the same outside of work and in work. And my dad would always say, act the same everywhere, preferably the way I taught you. Have you heard, you know, the thing going around now is let them. The concept is to free yourself from stress, anxiety, and frustration by focusing on what you can control, which is your own thoughts and actions. So what if our stop sign says let them instead of stop? A daily reminder to do what Jesus expects us to do. To be nice maybe, to be outing. I have a friend that she was raised Baptist and she married a Catholic. So I got in her car one day and she had a crucifix swinging in her rearview mirror while we're driving. So I'm like, hey, so this is a Catholic thing? You know, is this what, I noticed that you've got this crucifix. And she said, no, but I have found that when someone pulls out in front of me, I don't say bad words if Jesus is swinging in my rearview mirror. So I think we all kind of might need a Jesus in our rearview mirror. You know, and my grandmother, she always let everyone go first. She would cook a huge meal, but wait till everybody got their place, and then she would eat. And in the business world, we're taught we need to be first. The best is sometimes at the cost of others. The business world will reward you for that, but God will not. So my topic was the lost art of being kind. And in the business world, we're in the public eye at all times, and we have a double whammy if we're a Christian. So we're in the public eye for how we act, or we'll look at her acting like that, she goes to church, or, you know, we get it from all sides. But we have to be nice everywhere, even in the business world. Even to your competitors that you're going to have. So there's a local company here in town, and their daughter ended up having cancer. And so my dad sent them money. And they called me, and they were so surprised that we would send them, a competitor, money. And we told them, you know, first of all, you're God's children, just like we are. Second, we live in the same town, so we're neighbors. And third, it's the right thing to do. My dad was a veteran, and he said, you know, men fought for this country to be free. Your competitors have the same right to work in the same field as you, and you cannot be mean to them or dislike them or treat them poorly just because they're doing what you are doing. They are your competitors, but they are also people with they live in a free country. And that's going to be hard too. That's especially when you come in contact with competitors that do not play fair. So in the work field, you're going to have co-workers and bosses and suppliers, customers, and there are people with lives that are going through things that you don't know, things that they have that you can't see. And I'm sure most of you have taken a business ethics class, but the definition for business ethics are moral principles and values that guide a business's behavior and decision making. In other words, you get to decide how you want your business to be. You get to decide, you get to set the tone of your business. And I'm going to challenge you when you get out in the world to be nice, even when your customers and competitors are not. And it's not easy. It's easier to be not nice. It's easier for me to go through that four-way stop telling everybody how they should drive. But I've come to realize that the more I practice being nice, the easier it becomes. And I told you earlier, turning into outing, that I'm now the one that goes to church and I talk to everybody and I touch everybody and I hug everybody. And it's actually my grandkids saying, do you have to talk to everybody? Can we leave? And the healing power of a hug, not just for them, but for you. So mine's short today. I just wanted to make my impact on that. No matter what you're doing, you can be nice. You can treat others as Christ would treat them. And I've been blessed. I was raised by intentional parents and grandparents. I've had great examples in my life on how to live. And when you get in the work world, you will have to remember that you can be successful and still be kind. You can be successful and do the right thing. And you can be a leader of a people that people will want to follow. And I'm still a work in progress. I'm getting there. I'm becoming reality. But I'm okay with that, and I like it. I hope you have a blessed day today.
Okay, thank you, Miss Shannon. So we are going to take another bathroom break, networking break, more snacks if you want to. I'm going to ask real quick though. So in this break, we're going to ask for our CRA group to meet over here. We're going to get a group picture for you guys. And then we also would like our Black River Tech group to get a picture as well. If you're a CRC student, grab you some more snacks. Visit Pete's if you'd like to. Our next session will feature Mr. Jonathan Mays. That will serve as our chapel for today. And so we will meet back here at 11.
East. And basketball. You got held back. God bless you. I know you too. Tell me your name. I've seen you play basketball. Huh? Ben. Yeah. Tell me your name. Stratton.
Father, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us. Thank you for allowing us all to be able to come here and enjoy this business symposium. Lord, we pray that you would give Mr. Mazier the words to encourage us and to uplift us today, Lord, and we just pray that you would watch over us throughout the rest of our day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
The word of scripture today comes from Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand.
Thank you, JP and Dylan. So this is going to be our chapel session today, and I'd like to introduce our third guest speaker, Mr. Jonathan Mays. He's the president and the CEO of Unico Bank. He's the chairman of Washco Bank Shares Board of Directors. He attended Crowley's Ridge College from 1992 to 1994, where he earned a bachelor's degree and played basketball and baseball. He earned a bachelor's degree in business administration from Freed-Hardeman University in 1996, where he continued his basketball career. He earned a degree from Barrett School of Banking at Christian Brothers University in Memphis in 2010. Jonathan's given back to his community, serving as coach to youth leagues, and continues to support sports programs. He served on the Sports Advisory Council at Freed-Hardeman after he graduated. He's currently a member of the Independent Community Bankers of America, Missouri Bankers Association, and Arkansas Bankers Association. He serves on the board of trustees at Crowley's Ridge College, where he has been a board member since 2014. Jonathan is most proud of his family, his wife Ashley of 19 years, and his 3 children, Jordan, Maggie, and Bentley. He and his family are members of the Center Hill Church of Christ. His hobbies include golfing, hunting, and watching his kids play sports. The verse he feels we should all follow is Matthew 7:12, which says, "Sow in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you." So please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Jonathan Mays.
Good morning again. Mr. Wade, you're right, that's pretty loud. All right, very good, Dr. Clark, thank you. It's an honor to be here this morning that you've asked me. You may regret that later, but I appreciate that. The fact that you had a vision 3 years ago to bring our college students, invite our community workforce, our other college here in town, and our high school students. The fact that you come up with that, for us to stand in front of these students and give you ideas, give you success stories, and give you failures, give you the do's and don'ts, because it happens. So, thank you, because I know it's not easy. Wade, I'm gonna call you Mr. Wade, because that's really hard for me to call you Mr. Freer. Since the last 5 years, I've called your dad Mr. Freer in the school line. Fantastic. You did a really good job. I'm proud of you. You're an intelligent young man, and you got the world ahead of you. Miss Shannon, I know your grandpa and your grandma. I've had that pat on my back many times. They'd be very proud of you today, and I'm proud of you. Well, anyway, I also want to thank the administration here at CRC. And I know you students, some of you, they're your professors and your teachers, and they try to guide you. But I'm telling you, the people here love you. They don't work here for the money. Every person here that works can go make more money somewhere else. But they're here because they love you, and they want you to succeed. And not only when you get out in the workforce, but they want you to live a life that will get you closer and closer to heaven. So be appreciative of that. One quick thing, I know we've got the volleyball team, which has done a phenomenal job this year, and a couple other, but who plays sports in here? Look around. Keep your hands up. Look around. That's awesome. All right, put your hands down. All right, who's here on a scholarship? Who's got any kind of money, funding, anything like that to come here and play? Wow. Do me this favor. Make sure you tell somebody thank you. Because this ain't a state school. And I'm playing dad moment here, okay, so just be with me. Because I was here in the 90s, the early 90s, and guess what we didn't have? We didn't have that. So you came here and you paid 100% of it. But along the way, there was a vision, and donors give that. And they give that so you could come here and not only get an education, but you could come here and play the sports you love. And by the time you leave, our goal, and we talk about it every time we meet at the Board of Trustees, our goal and our mission is for you to leave here better young men, young women, to live a life full of success, and eventually get your kids and your family to spend eternity in heaven. So make sure you tell somebody thank you. And I know you don't know who all the donors are, and I don't either. But somebody loves this place good enough to make it better than it was. Because I was here in the early 90s, Amy Glenn, this building didn't look like this, did it? Sure didn't. The double doors right here, where do y'all think that went when they opened up? Because we didn't have a pool table, ping pong table, nice little foyer. That went out to a gravel chat parking lot. And every time it rained, and every time the wind blew, before you practiced volleyball and before we played basketball, we'd have to get the mops out and the brooms out and clean it all up, or we was going to play slip and slide in here. The nice ceiling we got, it used to be brown insulation. Every time the volleyball hit it, it dropped about 3 pounds on the floor. We'd have to clean it up before they could resume the game. So, yeah, you're a small little Christian school that don't have a lot of money, but a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of prayer, and a lot of people has give back so you can be here. So you can play the sport that you love to play and get an education. And just hopefully we've touched your heart in some way for you to succeed. All right, enough of the Board of Trustees talk, okay? But I felt like I needed to make sure you knew that. All right. Success. What's it mean? What's it consist of? I'm a storyteller. My wife told me to put my hands on the podium because, boy, I can let them fly. But I grew up in a small little town in Boot Hill, Missouri, Bernie, Missouri. It's about 70 miles from here, Highway 25 northeast. And I grew up on a farm, on a family farm. My dad farmed, my grandpa farmed, his grandpa farmed, my brothers farmed. And so that's all I ever wanted to do, was farm. Well, my dad didn't like that idea. He said, it's a hard living. If you're smart enough, you need to go do something else. Well, I didn't think I was very smart because I really didn't care about school. I was a C average student. Now, don't raise your hand if you're a C average student, but I was. I had one thing on my mind, and it was basketball. And that's all I played. I got a 12-year-old son now that he's eat up with it just as bad as I was. But I get to my 10th grade year in high school and had a pretty good year. And in Missouri, it's 9th and 10th grade is called junior varsity, 11th and 12th is varsity. So I finished my 10th grade year. A day or two after that, the school counselor had called me to his office, took me out of class, had to go see him. And he kept the books at the scores table. at our home games. And I got to his office. He's a pretty cool guy, you know. I just thought, oh, I wonder what he wants to do, what he wants to talk about. Well, he gave me a scolding worse than my dad ever gave me a scolding. Told me I was lazy. Told me I had a terrible work ethic. What are you talking about? He goes, Mays, if you'd put as much time in your academics as you do on that basketball court, you might actually have a chance to go somewhere. You might actually could go play college ball. But you ain't gonna get to, because you don't care. You're a terrible student in the classroom. Now you don't cut up and act up and be the class clown. But you're way smarter than that. I don't know why you're not putting forth the effort. So anyway, so we rock along a little bit, and I think about that, and I think, okay, all right, well, I'd like to play ball, you know. Maybe I do need to go to school. Dad's pretty hard on me about not wanting to farm. So we talked a little bit about it, and he told me this. He said, son, if you go to school and you get a 4-year degree, and if you want to come home and farm, I'll help you. But I'm not going to help you until you get your degree. Because none of my brothers or anybody like that went to school. So I thought about that. Okay, all right, well, all right. Surely I can try a little bit. Maybe I can get it up to a B average. So anyway, I went to work. Had to get a tutor in algebra and chemistry. I don't know if algebra is real math or not, but you gotta have it. I agree with you. That's the way I thought. Man, my goodness. Teaching stuff in school that we'll never use in our life. But you do use it. And let me just tell you why you use it. Because when we go through that interview process, and I got 2 people to pick from, and I got one person that dropped out of college, didn't really do much extra, you know, on the paper, or I've got this other individual, resume, went to 4-year school, got a degree, was in the bait club, was in the FBLA, did this, did that, student government. Who you think I'm going to hire? It ain't rocket science. Now they could interview and they could talk real good, but I want the person that finished the job. So think about that. Because you ain't very long for that world of getting to the workforce, creating those resumes, and going through the interview process. And if you don't think organizations, companies don't look at your Facebook, Instagram, social media, now it ain't me. I don't do that at our place, but Cheryl does. And she'll bring it to me. She'll pull out that phone. She goes, oh my goodness, look what this person posted. Because my job is trying to make sure everybody fits. So, food for thought. Be careful. Somebody's watching. So anyway, we rock along here. I'm starting doing good. I graduated high school 14th in my class. And you're thinking, well, how many did you have, 18? Because I said it's a small school. No, we had 38. It's pretty small. I don't know where I was at before, but I figure I was 25 or higher. I thought, 14th? Man, that's pretty good. I was pretty impressed. My dad wasn't. Man, he was mad. Son, you could have done that then. You should have been doing that the whole time. You could have got more money from school. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. So anyway, Coach Mack shows up on my doorstep one afternoon. He's telling me about a little school down here in Paragould, Arkansas, Crowley's Reach College. And I thought, man, I was kind of wanting to go to Three Rivers. But, yeah, hey, we'll come down there and check it out. So we come down here one day, and Donna Johns, y'all don't know her, several of y'all in the back do, showed me around campus. Coach got up a little scrimmage. We played in here. Felt like I did pretty good. We go to eat Pizza Inn. I don't know if y'all may remember there was like a step up in Pizza Inn. There were like one or two tables up there. Well, that's where we had lunch with Coach Mack, Don Johns, my parents. And he told me, he said, son, if you come to Crowley's Ridge College, you'll start as a freshman. You can play as much as you want to play. I said, okay, I'll come. Dad goes, you won't think about it? I said, no, sure don't. I like it. I just want to play ball. You ain't gonna let me farm, so let's go play ball. So anyway, so I ended up here. That's probably some of the best years of my life. Now, I got scolded the first 2 or 3 weeks I was here. I got called in the dean's office. We played a prank on a couple guys in the dorm. And Ricky Hale, I don't know if y'all still, I know he's not here now, but he said, son, college ain't for everybody. But if you're gonna stay here, you need to act a little better. I was pretty scared of him, but I was more scared of my dad. So I said, Mr. Hale, will never happen again. And I don't think I ever got called in the dean's office again. But anyway, we had a pretty good time here and loved it. So, who's the best baseball player in here? I know we got the baseball team. Who hits all the home runs and who has all the strikeouts? You pretty good? I like it. Very good. All right, you golfers just finished 4th the other day. Who's the best golfer we got in here? Anybody shoot a 67 yet? Huh? 67 is pretty good. Well, I'll tell you this. I had 2 games in this gym that I scored over 40 points. Won the dunk contest. You're thinking, you short guy won the dunk contest? Sure did. Sure did. Nobody in this gym even knows that, nor do they care. I got a congratulations and a good job. Same thing you guys did. But what I did get when I was here, and I was pretty proud of it, but I got nominated and voted in this Mr. CRC deal. And that tells me more than any hard work, 40 points, 12 strikeouts a game, because that's character, that's integrity. It's not what you do in the gym, it's not what you do in the field, it's how you treat people. And I was pretty proud of that. I didn't work for that, didn't even really know that was the deal. But at the time, when I got that, I didn't really think about really what that consisted of. And when you get older, you'll realize it. That's the stuff that matters. So I'm forever grateful for CRC. And so I try to help when I can. When Ken Hoppy asked me to sit on the board of trustees, I'd never sit on anything like that before. And, a lot of those individuals are preachers, elders, a lot of men of the church that have been really good Christian men for a long time. And I struggle. And it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut sometimes. And Ken says, man, no, you're the guy we need on here. And I go, well, don't let me stick my foot in my mouth. You need to shut me up in some of these board meetings if I get out of line. It ain't happened yet, but it's got close a couple times. But I'll just tell you this, those men and women that sit on that, we don't get paid. We do it because we want you to succeed. And we want you to further your future in Christianity. But as good as these speakers are today, they don't have all the answers, and neither do I. It's how we go to the next step when we do fall, when we do fail, when we do hit that roadblock. What do? I tell our staff at work all the time, I said, listen, nobody's perfect. I ain't been one perfect person, and you ain't it. You're going to make mistakes. But we're going to learn from it, and we're not going to do it again. Because is education free? Education cheap? No. Costs a lot of money. Costs a lot of money to go here. Well, guess what? When you get in an organization and you're working, and if I make a mistake at the bank, it costs me a lot more money than any education I could have paid for. So, learn, understand it, and when you do make a mistake, file that in the background, file that back here somewhere. All right, listen, I don't need to do that again. So, when I speak, I think I've said this at everywhere I've spoke. Leave it better than it was when you got it. And if you remember anything, remember that. Leave it better than it was when you got it. When you check out of that dorm room next spring, and you get all your stuff loaded up in your car, and you go through that room one last time to make sure you didn't forget nothing, you need to look at it. And you need to look at it and say, well, I've really trashed this room. Or, hey, I left it better than I found it. What about your locker rooms here in the gym? Did you leave it better than it was when you got here? And I ain't just talking about school. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about any organization you get a part of. Any place you be in Lawrence County. Hospital there. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I can tell you, Mr. Wade left it better than it was when he got there. Miss Shannon, the business that they run now, it's better than it was when she got there. You have to do that. If you're going to be successful at anything, put that in the back of your mind. Leave it better than you found it. And if anything you do here, I know you're missing class today, which is good. I love to miss class. But I'm sure your teachers have got you doing some kind of report or some kind of deal or something for extra credit. That's perfect to write that down. Leave it better than you found it. So who wants to be a millionaire? Huh? I want to be one when I grow up. Who wants to make a lot of money? Yeah, me too. Ain't that the purpose? Ain't that the goal? Come to school, get an education, go make a lot of money. Will money make you happy? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's what it looks like on TV. Commercials, the ads. Guy in nice clothes, fancy watch, fast car. He gets some pretty girls, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that's not the girl you want. I'm here to tell you that's not the guy you want. Because what's going to happen when you hit that roadblock, that road bump, and it knocks you to the ground, and you run out of money? Is she going to stay with you then? Or is she gone to the next guy that's got the money and a good time? Think about it. Because you're going to hit that roadblock. My 12-year-old son was on a basketball team last year in the 5th grade. Well, they actually got to move up. Some of them got to move up and play on the 6th grade team. They had a pretty good year. We're playing this team that we'd already beat them pretty bad at their place. They come to our place. Well, we were leading the whole game until the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's right there neck and neck. I don't think they ever went up, but they tied it up a couple times. We'd score. Well, anyway, last 10 seconds, we've got a kid that fouls. Tied up. Sends the other kid to the free throw line. 2 shots. He missed the first one. He makes the second. We get the ball back, go down, try to throw up a shot. We miss. We lose the game. Now, 11, 12 years old, there's about 4 or 5 kids, they're eating up with this basketball. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they wear jerseys to school all the time. I mean, and so he's distraught. I mean, he's crying, he's blaming himself. You know, so after the game, you know, parents go over there. I go over and say, hey, buddy, it's okay, man. It's just a game. It's just a game. But is it just a game? You guys that play sports, because it wasn't just a game for me. Son, I'm playing to win. If I'm playing the game, putting my shoes on, we're going to try to win. But I understand that. And it's the kids that care like that make a difference. But we're on our way home. And Bentley, he's still pretty upset. And I'm thinking, okay, here's the teaching moment. Because now, I had two girls at a younger age. They're already grown now, out of the house. I didn't do very good with them. This gray hair, it means wisdom and a lot of faults. So I'm thinking, okay, here's my teaching moment. Because I failed my daughters at points. Jordan's here today, and I'm glad you came. She's a state champion. She's got the ring and everything. I never got that. I was pretty good in high school, but never got that. But she got it. So her senior year, she has the best game. 36, 31 points, something like that. Fantastic. 19 from 20 from the free throw line. What do you think my first comment to her is after that game? Now granted, I'm 26, 27, I ain't much older than you, and I wasn't very smart. What do you think I said? Really? You couldn't make that one too? Well, 19 from 20 is pretty good. I'd take that any day of the week. So, back up to Bentley. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do a better job with him. All right, son. Well, why are you so upset? I don't know, Dad. Why did you foul? Why did you foul? I said, it's a game, man. But you're so upset, you ready to quit. Oh, no, I ain't quitting. Well, then what are you going to do about it? And he'd been around me enough to know, well, I guess I got to get better. I said, that's right, you got to get better. I said, but let's talk about that game. Is that what lost the game? Well, yeah, he fouled, he made a free throw, we lost the game. I said, what about the 2 free throws you missed? What about the 2 that you threw off one of the kid's legs and you threw the other one out of bounds? What about there was, I'm not going to say names, but there were several other deals that said, that one play, son, didn't lose the game. And he goes, I guess you're right, Dad. I said, it's the whole game. It's the whole game. One pitch, one bat, one spike, one shank out of bounds. It doesn't cost you the game. It's everything that went on. The 3 ground balls that rolled between your legs, the drop fly balls, the turnovers, going 8 from 20 from the free throw line. That's what loses the game. Same thing in life. It's not one thing. It's a multiple of things if you don't stop it. So when that does happen, and I told him this, I said, son, when stuff like that happens, don't pout. Don't place the blame. Don't make excuses and cover up your own faults. You pull up your boots and you get back to work and you work even harder. So who's the captain on the baseball? I'm sure you guys all play baseball. Who's the captain on the baseball team? You got captains? You do anything like that? All right, everybody's pointing at him. All right. Is the captain the best player or the best leader? Both. I like it. Well, what is leadership? Leadership is helping somebody else, affecting somebody else for their benefit. Not for your benefit, for their benefit. Let me say that one more time since I messed that up. Leadership is about helping someone else achieve a goal and better themselves instead of you. If you do that for you, it's called manipulation. And people will see right through that. And that causes dissension on the court. That causes dissension in the field, in the locker room, and in the workplace. So who is the ultimate servant? It was Jesus. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. It's in Mark 10:45. See, you knew I was going to throw some stuff in there because it's chapel. But Jesus didn't talk about serving or lead by example. He lived it. He washed the disciples' feet. He died on the cross. He lived a perfect life so that we could spend eternity in the kingdom with him. So as hard as it might be to watch someone else succeed, and you think it should have been you, but we have to train ourselves to be great servants. These next few years is very important. I would say the next 5 determine the direction that you're going to go and you're going to lead your family. So ask yourself, what direction do I want to go? Do I want to live a life full of chaos and drama? Or do I want to try to dictate where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to lead my family? I ain't always done that. But how do you have a better chance of keeping a family together? How do you have a better chance of your children being respectful? How do you have a better chance of getting to heaven? It's to put your trust in God. And I ain't done that either. Not all the time. We want to do it by ourselves, don't we? I'm a man. I can do it. I can handle it. Put it on my shoulders. But living a godly life means aligning your thoughts, your actions, and even your desires with God's will and character. It's not about being perfect, but it's about taking that step. It's about reflecting through Jesus Christ, through faith, obedience, humility, and love. Your minds are full of ambition. Your hearts are full of questions. Questions about your future, your purpose, the direction, and even maybe identity. College is filled with the discovery, challenge, and change. And then when you leave this and get in the real world, that doesn't change. It's still discovery, challenge, and change. But what I want to remind you, one simple truth. You've got to trust in God. Where he leads me, I will follow. Is that just a lyric in a song? Or a phrase on a coffee mug? What does that even mean? Where he leads me, I will follow. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him. He will make your path straight. You may not know what's coming next. Some of you probably don't even have majors picked out. You have no idea where you're going to go in the workforce. Like Mr. Freer said, that could change in a matter of minutes when they walk in your office. But here's the beauty of it. You don't have to know. You just have to trust the one that does. He doesn't ask us to have the whole road map lined out. He just asked for us to take the next step with him. But it's not easy when life throws you curveballs. And life can throw you a curveball and the best pitcher here and the best pitcher in Major League. So you swing for the fences, you swing by yourself, or you take a step back and you pray and you ask God, all right, what are you throwing me here? What am I supposed to do? I need some help here. I need a little bit of guidance. It takes faith. Well, what is faith? Is faith a Sunday morning mindset? Is faith just believing in God? No. Faith by itself if it does not have works, is dead. James 2:17. So faith isn't about what we do on Sunday. It's about who you are on Monday and the days after that. What's more important you should care about is your character. Your character is an accumulation of your thoughts, your habits, your priorities on a day-to-day basis. Those three things determine the choices you make and make up who you are. Good guy, bad guy. Lazy, hardworking. Responsible, irresponsible. It takes a certain amount of discipline doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and do it the way it's supposed to be done. Who are you when nobody's watching? Psalms 51:10, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Real faith shows up in the choices you make and how you treat people. It's not about perfection. It's about sincerity. It's about having a daily presence with God. So you're thinking, okay, this guy, man, he's got it all going on. No, sure didn't. The only reason I know some of that is because I didn't make those choices. So I'm going to tell you about some of them. Went to college, went to Free. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was an elder. We went to church Sunday, Sunday night, Monday, and anytime the doors was open, we were there. I left there, come to CRC, left CRC, went to Free to Hardman. So till I was 24 years old, I was around good, Christian, godly people. Got married, had 2 little girls, had a great job, things were going great. Well, I let the world in and lost focus and went through a divorce. Split my family up. Now, you look at that and think, well, okay, that happens all the time. And it does. But I was the first one in my family to go through something like that. I felt like I let my parents down. I felt like I let my girls down. And I felt like I let God down. Felt like a complete failure. And I hope nobody in here feels like a failure. But if you've ever been in that spot, failure is nothing more than an opportunity to learn and grow and change the outcome. There can be no greater victories in life without tremendous adversities. So here's a curveball. Do you pray for help and guidance? Do you pray for faith and direction? Or do you drown your sorrows in a bottle? Do you hang out in places you're not supposed to hang out? Just trying to get by. What happened? What's going on? How did I get to this spot? Well, I'm telling you, the latter don't work. And if you do it long enough, it doesn't end well. So one day, my boss, which I respect him very much, I'm not going to say his name, but we go to church with him today. And I'd worked there for 12 years. He called me in the office, kind of like your deal, Mr. Wade. He said, son, I've been praying for you. I've been praying for you and your girls. And I want to pray for you now. Would you let me? I said, you bet, man. Absolutely. So he prayed. And when he got done, he said, I think a lot of you, you're a hard-working young man. You've done extremely well here. And at that point in time, I was a seed, chemical, and fertilizer rep, and the largest in Northeast Arkansas. My client was Adams Gin at Leachville, the largest gin in North America at that point in time. And I was good at what I did, because I loved it. That's as close to farming as I was ever going to get. And he said, you need to change. You need to figure it out, because you've lost focus and you're struggling. I was making $80,000 a year plus a bonus. We worked real hard in the spring, worked real hard in the fall, played a lot of golf in the summer, hunted and fished in the winter. You're probably thinking, what an idiot. How did you gonna mess that up? But I was just about to mess that up because I lost focus. So that night when I got home, I told him I was sorry and I would try to do better. So that night when I got home, I had my girls that night and I tucked them in bed. They were 6 and 3. And I sit at the kitchen table and I cried and prayed. I told God to forgive me and I asked him to help me. I said, I can't do it on my own. About a couple weeks after that, I met Ashley, and she saved my life. She was going through something a little similar. I guess that's kind of why we hit it off, and she's beautiful. Now, it doesn't take rocket science to figure that out. I don't know what she saw in me. But anyway, so we dated for a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, talk. And when I had the girls, we'd go to 7th and Moeller. Now, nobody knew me because I wouldn't go if I didn't have them. But when I had them, we would go. And I called her and I said, hey, I'm going to go to church Sunday. You want to go? I got the girls. You want to go with us? Yeah. Where are you going? I said, well, we've been going to 7th and Moeller. She goes, oh, that's where my grandparents go. I said, well, who's your grandparents? And she told me I didn't know them. I kind of sit on the back row. Miss Aldine tapped back his shoulder. It's good to see you here this morning, son. So Shannon ain't wrong. She did do that. But ask yourself, what if? What if I have that mindset like the world has today? My boss calls me in there, kind of rips on me a little bit, tells me I could lose my job. And I look at him and say, man, that's none of your business, what's going on in my life, in my house. You don't have a clue what I'm going through. You've got a nice Christian family. You have no idea what I've been going through. I can tell you what happened. He'd walk me to the door and said, bye. So as bad as you want to have that mindset, if I can do it on my own, I don't need your help. You need everybody's help. Because that ladder you climb to the top, you may have to come back down. And if you break some of those rungs on that ladder, you fall. Or you burn a bridge, you don't get to cross it. So you ask yourself, okay, well, how'd you end up banking? You're in charge. And let me just tell you, Mr. Wade, I'm probably going to have that surgery because I do have high blood pressure. Didn't know that when I took that deal. But so over that next year, me and Ashley's grandfather become extremely close. He loved basketball as much, if not more, than I did. He played high school, Childress, Arkansas. Don't even have a school now, but he used to tell me all about it. So when ASU played, we were there. When the SEC tournament happened, we were there. When the Sun Belt tournament happened, we were there. So I spent a lot of time with him. And I remember this one time, we went to Marianna. He had a farm down in Marianna, a couple hours south of here. We drove around, looked at it. We went to this little restaurant. And the whole time I was with him, it seemed like every time we went somewhere together, I either ran into a chemical rep, a seed rep, a fertilizer rep, a farmer. It's just like there was a hand putting people right in my way, making me look good. You know, looking back, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's crazy how that happened. But we go in this little restaurant, mom and pop. He did not eat at chain restaurants other than Captain D's, which I hated Captain D's. But he knew every mom and pop restaurant in a 500-mile radius of Perryville, Arkansas. So we get in there, sure enough, the Stoneville seat rep is in there, gets up, shakes my hand, we chat, introduce him to Mr. Brinkley, and anyway, we sit at the table, and he looked at me and he goes, son, do you know everybody in the ag industry? I go, well, I probably don't know everybody, because I ain't met them yet. And my wife, kind of like Alvin, my wife, oh my God, my kids, every time I run to somebody, it's another 10, 15 minutes. But anyway, he asked me that day, he said, son, I'd like for you to go work at the bank. I said, Leon, I ain't interested. He actually asked me twice, and I turned him down twice. I told him, I said, I didn't marry your granddaughter to get on your payroll. I said, I got a good job. And I said, I like what I do. The only thing I know about banking is balancing a checkbook, and y'all don't even know what that is. Do you? Well, I knew they didn't. But anyway, then he told me this. He said, well, I just bought a 100-acre farm in Childress, and I need somebody to farm it for 1 year. I said, I'm your guy. I can do it. He goes, you don't even know if you can put it in or not. We didn't have any equipment or anything like that. I said, no, that don't matter. I know enough people. I can get it in, and I can get it out. He goes, well, okay. Well, we'll do a 70-30 split. I was like, well, I'll do it for free. I don't care. But anyway, so that year, we raised a corn crop together. And that was so much fun. Me and Ashley took the girls. I mean, it was just kind of like our little project. So we got done. We got the crop out. I met Leon at his office. He had all the checks. Of course, he paid all the bills. I had no money. So I asked him, I said, well, how'd we do? He goes, son, you did real good. That's the most money I've made on a farm of anything like that and got to put in my pocket. Because I only got 30%. You know, most of the farmers get a little bit more and stuff like that. And then he handed me my check, and I looked at that check, and at that point in time, that's the most money I had ever seen at one point in time. And I'm like, can we do it again? He goes, nope. I told you 1 year, but I'm going to ask you one more time, and I'm not asking you again. He said, I built this bank in 1978. He bought a little bank in Irondale, Missouri. If y'all know where Farmington is, how you way to St. Louis to the Cardinals game, if you take a left right there where the world stops, that's where it's at. He mortgaged everything he owned and bought a $2 million bank in Irondale, Missouri. And at that point in time, we had 7 branches, just a little over $200 million in assets. He said, son, I built it as far as I can build it. He was in close to his 70s, might even been in his 70s. He said, I'm tired of messing with it. Nobody else in my family wants to do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. I understand. But I'm probably going to sell it. And you could just see in his eyes that all the hard work, all the effort, all the sacrifice, I didn't have the heart to tell him no that day. I said, you're going to have to give me a couple days. Because I had done what I had been doing for 12 years after college. I didn't know anything different. I grew up farming, and that's kind of what I was some sort of doing. I talked to Ashley, we prayed about it, and I took the leap of faith. Left the only career I ever knew to get into banking. So 19 years later, this will be my 20th year, and 12th as a CEO of Unico Bank. I can't tell you how proud I am to run our family's business and the direction we've tried to take that. Today, we're a little over $500 million in assets, and we've got 15 locations in Arkansas and Missouri. And I didn't do that on my own. I did it with a lot of people and the good Lord. We pray at every one of our board meetings, and we pray for direction. We give thanks. We want to help our customers. We want to help our communities. Because when we do that, it helps us. And the most rewarding thing that I get out of my job is watching a young family buy a home, or watching a young entrepreneur start a business and watching them grow it and watching them succeed. But is running $1 million company easy? Absolutely. There comes the blood pressure. We have over 150 co-workers with 15 locations. So listen closely here. Mediocre people do not like high achievers. High achievers don't like mediocre people. So my job's kind of like that of your coach. And the coach's job is getting the right players on the bus and getting them in the right seats and getting the wrong ones off. So when you start this next adventure and you get a job and you get an organization, you need to think about that. Because there's going to be some high achievers there. And there's probably going to be some mediocre ones. Which side are you going to sit on? You going to be average? You going to go along to get along, draw a paycheck? Or are you going to try to make a difference? I can tell you today, those two individuals that stood up here and talked, they made a difference. They're not average. And our goal here is to get every one of you being the top individuals at your organization. That makes us look good. That makes CRC proud. And you should be proud to do that. So we work with our managers and supervisors and trainers, and we try to instill at Unico Bank Christian values and integrity. Because we want everybody to have integrity with great service, stewardship, and love for your neighbor. And neighbor, I mean customer. Okay, Shan, I got one for you. You spouted off a bunch of things, Burger King, have it your way. Is the customer always right? What do you think? Is the customer always right? No, the customer's hardly ever right. Yeah, they're hardly ever right. For one, they don't know the rules, and they don't know the regs. All they know is I got this check here and I won't pay. Well, most of the time when they come in, it's a check from who knows where. Half of that stuff's fraud these days. So be careful what you're clicking on. I'm just telling you, be careful what you're clicking on, because they'll send you a check, you'll take it to the bank, and they'll make you look stupid, because we ain't cashing it. But what are they, Shannon? They're still the customer. They're not right, but they're still the customer. So our job is to make, if we can't help them, to make sure they know why we can't help them, and to try to make them understand what they have to do so we can help them. How many banks we got in Perryville? I know we've got the credit union here today. There's a ton of them. Oh my goodness. There's a bank on every corner in Jonesboro. Some's got a blue roof, some's got a red roof. We're all the same. We all run by the same regulations. We have all the same rules. You know what's different? The difference is the people inside. The difference is the people inside. And that starts at the top. And that starts with me. Could start with you. So we want everybody to have a direction. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you. God doesn't lead randomly. He leads with vision and intention. He leads with clarity and purpose. So how can you make purpose with a prophet? It speaks of doing something meaningful. Also brings sustainable results. It reflects the idea that your God-given purpose can and should be to bear fruit, not just spiritually, but practically and financially, when you align that with His will. So what is our purpose? Oh man, I gotta rock along, don't I? I'll make y'all late for lunch. I'm almost there. Stay with me, I promise. Told you it's chapter. So what is your purpose? Why are you here at CRC? Are you here just to get an education? Or are you here to just play sports? Or is it maybe to find a Christian mate? I know the Bible majors just left, so I can't really preach at them. But just like those guys are here, gals, are here to learn the Bible so they can preach and teach others. You have choices. I heard Nick Saban speak one time, and I am not an Alabama fan. But I am a Nick Saban fan because he is a great leader. He said you got 5 choices in life. You can be bad at what you do, or you can be average at what you do. I'm going to stop right there and let's talk about average. Average is the human brain's normal. You make an A on the midterm, you make an A on a paper. Oh, you sports guys, I know it because I was there. Oh, I don't have to work so hard on the next one. If I get a C, I'm going to end up with a B. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can be bad, you can be average, you can be good. That's what God expects you to do. He expects you to be good at the ability He's given you. But you can be excellence. You can excel. So, to be excellent or to be elite, everyone has that choice. But if you're going to be excellent and elite, you got to do the special things. You got to have special intensity. You got to have special focus. You got to have a special commitment and drive and a passion to do the things at a high level. Everybody wants to be great until they see the invoice. Greatness will cost you sleep. Greatness will cost you comfort. Greatness will cost you being liked. And the truth is, most people aren't willing to pay that price. See, we love the idea of the trophy, but we hate the process. We love the story of champions, but we want to skip the chapters where we're overlooked, we're rejected, and even tested. But you can't skip those. You can't borrow greatness. You got to earn it. You got to earn it when nobody's clapping. You got to earn it when nobody's checking the stat sheet. You got to earn it when nobody's posting how great you are on social media. Those nights you want to quit and you choose not to. Those mornings you roll in, or those mornings you're tired because you just rolled in from 2 a.m. from a game somewhere across state lines, and you get up for 8 o'clock class. Every rep in practice you push harder, even when it hurts, and even when it doesn't feel like it's worth it. Just remember, you're making a down payment. You're making a down payment on your dream. When the day comes and you finally walk into that moment that you've been waiting for, you've been fighting for, it won't be luck. It won't be magic. And it won't be a coincidence. It'll be because you looked at the price tag and you paid it. And you paid it in full. So who else paid it in full? Our Redeemer paid it in full. He did it for us. I can only imagine being a dad and what I think about my kids. With God looking down that day on his son, he lived a perfect life, and then he was sacrificed so we could believe, we could repent, and we could be baptized, and he could save us all. I know his chest was puffed out, and he had a smile face to face, from ear to ear. And he's like, that's my boy. Yep, that's my boy. So ask yourself, what life are you going to live? What purpose are you going to have? Because you matter. The fact that you're at CRC, your life matters. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the minds, hearts, and futures of these young men and women. As they walk through these college years full of new ideas, choices, and challenges, may they remain rooted in your truth and guided in your spirit. Give them courage to stand firm in their faith when the world around them wavers. Let them not be ashamed of the gospel, but be bold in love, wise in speech, and gentle in spirit. Grant them wisdom from discouragement, temptation, and loneliness. Surround them with faithful friends, mentors who will encourage them in grace and truth. Stir their hearts to serve, not just to succeed. Help them see their education as a stewardship of the gifts you've given, preparing them to build your kingdom in whatever field you lead them. In all the things, may they seek you first, trusting that you will direct their path and you will provide all they need. In Jesus' name, amen. Before I get out of here, you ain't got to get me around talk. I've talked way too long. You guys are missing lunch. Before I get out of here, I'd be amiss to tell you this. My business cards are right up here on this stage. My cell phone's on it. When I turned that in 18 years ago, the lady that prints the business cards called my secretary and said, hey, he put his cell phone on here. People just didn't do that. And I'm like, hey, I can't serve the community if they can't get a hold of me. So I want you to know, I'm right down the road. Good, bad, ugly, I'll answer my cell phone. My wife knows it, but sometimes, would you just turn that thing off? I can't turn it off. Somebody may need something. If you feel like you're drowning, you feel like you just need somebody to talk to, because I've been there, call me. I'd love to come out here. I'd love to come out here other than just a board meeting, but my cell phone's up here. I'm just right down the road at the Unico Bank on Kings Highway where the Sonic is, where it's about not to be because they're building a new one. Hey, know this. The people that's here, the people that's mentoring you, love you, want you to succeed. We want you guys to come back and speak at this, and I'd love to be here to listen to you. So, thank you for your attention today. Sorry I went along, Dr. Clark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all of our guest speakers today, and thank you guys for attending and being respectful and giving them your attention. Really appreciate that. So just to remind you, there's no classes this afternoon, but if you are in my organizational management, my negotiations, or my promotional strategies course, you know that I need you to stay for a minute afterwards. If you're a business major, we're going to have you meet over here under the basketball goal, just 3 minutes tops. And then we'll get out of here. So again, thank you so much for attending. You're free to go.